then we can succeed. And we always are on the same level. Maybe, and very often I think that guy is not the sharpest tool in the book.
To make business successful. And we spoke about countries and the similarities between Latvia and South Africa and everybody South Africa. Right. Hello, and welcome to Free Range Excellence. I'm Dion Wright, and today we've got a special guest, Lauma Veldman, all the way from Latvia. Thank you for joining us. It's a special occasion to have you here. Lauma is somebody that's very experienced as a supervisor, as a manager, all the way back in Latvia in a printing company. So she's going to talk a little bit about her experience today. So once again, welcome, and thank you for our viewers that is joining us. At Free Range Excellence, we aim to find out about individuals from every walk of life, about their journeys, how they've come through life thus far, and what are the things that they've learned. So instead of just focusing on very important people, we also focus on the important people doing the jobs. All right, so welcome. I've introduced you quickly to our egg roulette, but just it is something that we want to start as a good tradition, yeah? So what we're asking our guests is to choose between two eggs. The one is boiled and the one is raw. So, and you get an opportunity after you've chosen the one to stick with that one. And at the end of the podcast, you get an opportunity to bang whatever one you've chosen against my head. My bad luck if it's a raw egg, and depending on what you want, maybe it's your good luck. So go ahead and choose an egg, the left or the right one.
So first it's hi. Yeah, my name is Lauma, as Dion introduced me, and thank you for nice words that I'm the specialist and experienced and so on. I am very much. And do I have to choose the egg now?
Yes, please. So left or right,
okay.
And then we know you've made your choice.
Okay, I love to cook. It's very much, I can determine which is raw and which is boiled. So now it's, what do I want to do to Dion? So I'm choosing this one.
All right. So it's the
this one.
the right hand side one. Okay. So just remember that's the closest one to you. And I've got a cloth here.
So during the whole conversation, you can be excited or worried. What do I like you or not so much?
Well, it depends on what we're going to say. Okay. So, but that's a good one. Yeah. Let's hope I don't piss you off, and then we can have a good end to
we haven't started conversation, and I made decision.
All right. So thank you for choosing. It's the right hand one. We'll try and remember that. All right. So let's go over to your journey thus far. You've got free range to tell us everything and anything you like to tell us about yourself and your journey.
Okay. So as Dion mentioned, I'm from Latvia. Probably most of you doesn't know where it is, so that's why we will have a map. But it's a small country in Northern Europe. Initially, it was, when I was born, it was part of Soviet Union. So around the age of 10, the system changed and we got into the free market economy. Huge changes in a personal business life, everything. So it's basically two different systems. So yeah, and that's very interesting. In my lifetime, there are 4 currency changes. Yep. Amazing. So, and huge devolving of the money. So it was like one day it's worth something, the other day it's divided by 200, literally. So, yeah. So then started my studies. I started the first education I was trying to get was sociology. So it's how the society works, how to measure its opinion, and so on and so on. How to form the questions, how to understand either this is overall opinion of the society or the expert, and so on and so on. So, but I didn't finish because I was, smarty pants. I knew it better, better than my parents, and nothing changed since then. And I started to work. Yeah, I started to work, and I ended up in outdoor advertising business. And there I kind of found myself professionally that I'm the project manager. Give me the task, give me the problem, and I will find how to solve it. And I can't find like a piece till it's not solved. Not just, telling everybody, it should be done like that. No, it's I have to finish myself. So, and then I thought, okay, I need to study a little bit more. It's not just, I don't have to every time invent new bicycle. I can actually gain something from some other smart people. So I studied marketing, finished that with excellence. Yeah, I have a diploma for the best paper in my class. So, and after that, I went to printing business. All these fields I've been working, they are rather to one direction. So they are pretty similar. And so a little bit of knowledge there, a little bit of knowledge there. And so I entered the printing business. I was a project manager for a while. But you see, it's as I told just now, my ability to solve the issue was
the root cause.
Yeah. So it
Looking for
was
the root cause, yeah.
very, very quickly noticed by the bosses. So I went to the production, and there I was doing all possible roles and positions there in a administration of the production. So it was the the technologies, the production flow planner, the outsourcing, the purchase department, logistics, HR, a little bit of finances. So basically, it was where they are struggling or the person is needed to be replaced. They just came to me and said, "From tomorrow, you're doing HR." Then I had a little bit weakness in my knees for a moment, and then just roll up the sleeves and do. And very often it was like when I was in a certain department, they were consulting with me how this department is working and how do we implement this department into the system. They were building like CRM system and so on. So we were finding the way how to build this into the company's system. So yeah. That's my experience in general. Yeah.
All right. I mean, such an interesting life, and not something in South Africa, but I can immediately hear all the similarities. Everybody seems to be isolated, from a nationality perspective, but we tend to be exactly the same. It doesn't matter what language you speak and where you come from. It sounds
you're
very
human
familiar.
in Latvia, you're human in South Africa,
exactly.
and we tend to think pretty similarly.
So when we spoke, you said you were in several leadership positions. Call it leadership because management, leadership, supervisory, it doesn't matter. It means that you're taking the lead in certain projects, in certain things, improving things. What would you reckon from when you look back at your career? What is your highlight? What is the thing that you will one day tell your grandchildren? This is my highlight.
The highlight could be the recognizing basically of my abilities. I'm very, very, very proud that I'm capable of all that stuff. I never gave up. I never that there is no I can't in my vocabulary. That I recognized in myself that the ways how you can find the thing to be done is amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing, yeah. And the second thing, which is absolutely is like I knew the company from top to bottom. I knew it from all possible angles, and that's amazing. Yeah, to actually understand that when you're in one department, you're one gear. When you're in another, that's another gear. But when it comes to the understanding that that's a clock which is working and working correctly, it's amazing. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, that's a very good analogy, the one of the clock. Then surely if there's a high point, one has to also talk about the lowest points. Have you got a low point in your career that you can share with our viewers?
you see them. Yeah, sure, of course I can. You
You're
see,
human.
yeah, I'm human. Yeah, and I tend to be honest. I don't know if it's pros or cons, but I tend to be honest. But you see, production is in general very, very harsh business. It's very harsh. It's very expensive business. It's the mistakes cost tremendously, and the pace of working is awesomely high, and you have to manage all the time a lot of things, and especially in my roles, it was never that I was basically doing just one department. It was all the time mixture of the things. So it's all about time management, all this stuff. So eventually, it was also some outer effect, but I burnt out. Yeah, it's that simple. I burnt out, and actually it was slowly going downwards. I started to lose a lot of weight. I'm not complaining of the food, believe me. My mom also, she goes, "Oh, you look so good." I can't move. You look so good. No, you should lose some weight. You look so good these days. I said, "Mom, I was burnt out." But anyways, yeah. So it's not the nicest thing to be, but it started to go down slowly, and then it was very, very fast roll till it was literally one morning. I woke up in my bed, opened my eyes. I understood that I can't get out of the bed. I was crying because I have to face the day. So I called the company and said, "I'm sorry, that's it. I'm done." Yeah. So that was the lowest point. Not nice. No.
Listen, but thanks for sharing. I know it's probably difficult, and
No, a lot of people been there.
yeah.
So what's
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So that's a
It's a reality of life.
that's a reality. Yeah. You know, we can't avoid the part of the life. It's there.
So, how have you dealt with it? Obviously, it's a sore point, but you seem to have dealt with it. Listening to you, you've dealt with it quite well. What have you done? What are the things that you've put in place to get you out of bed, to get you back into business?
Well, first I took, I think it was 2 weeks off. Nothing, basically sleeping, eating, shower. That was my day routine for a very short time. I needed longer, to be honest, but company was calling me back. And I was trying to avoid that, but anyways, that taught me that I'm the resource, and how I'm spending myself, I am responsible for that, nobody else. If I'm giving, there will be takers. So I have to limit my giving. So it's
manage your energy, basically.
Yeah, manage my energy, manage my time. I can't work, less efficient or working worse. That's not complying with my work ethics. But I can, strictly. If it's working hours from 8 to 5, I'm 5 o'clock. I'm leaving. I'm sorry, but I'm leaving. Of course, but it includes that I'm not leaving half the job. I'm managing my time, my duties. So the most important stuff is always done. If it's a break, then I'm taking a break, like lunch break or something. I'm not. It's also learning to say no.
Yeah.
People will, if I'm the source of the information, they will come and they will kind of, be lazy and not look for information themselves. It's easier to ask because somebody already knows that. So it was the other thing. Yeah. Say no, manage your time, manage your energy output. Yeah.
So that's quite interesting, because we've got a tendency to blame others for the situation that we're in, and yes, there is a responsibility on leadership, your bosses, to create a climate where you're productive and where you can be healthy. But the interesting thing is, here you've said, look, it's the circumstances. I had to do certain things better. Is there, however, something that leadership can do to create a better culture or a better climate for people in the organization?
Definitely. There were signs that I'm burning out. First of all, I was losing weight, and I really lost like 15 kgs, and it's a lot.
So it's visible.
It's visible, yeah. And okay, maybe be polite and don't ask why you're losing weight. Maybe I'm not eating. I want to reach some beauty standards. But when I'm starting to tell it's too much for me, then listen to me.
Yeah.
Listen to me. But you see, that's another tendency. If you have a chicken who is giving you golden eggs, I say, oh, no, you're giving too much. No, it's a natural. If they can take, they will take.
More and more.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's definitely notice that somebody start to struggle. How much? What's the workload you're giving to the certain person? Because some people are capable, and then they are doing basically everything, and some people, oh, I can't. And if you hear I can't, you don't give to them. So it's of course it's dual way. So it goes both ways. You should, if you have good employee, don't burn them out. No.
So and I mean the telltale signs are there. You just have to look.
Yeah.
And observe. And don't try and, because I mean it's not sustainable.
No. You can't work in that pace. You see, it's there is a saying, you say, about a lot of things. I was running marathon in a sprint pace. You can't do that. You can't do that. No. And whoever is more sensitive or more observant or something, either it's HR or it's my direct boss or leader, whatever you call it, but you see the signs. So, yeah.
And then you should act on those signs, obviously.
You should act. Oh, listen, Lauma, you're not looking good. You should
take a few days off, take that rest. So instead of having a 2-week break, you just have smaller breaks and you don't burn.
Maybe. And now it's in general the workload. And you see, it's you in that production business, you can't have extra workers in some key positions. You can't have. So there are few people who are doing key work. If one is dropping out, somebody else who knows that has to replace. And that was the situation which caused the drop, like the ball drop and hit the ground. Otherwise, it could continue like that. But it was like one key employee was sick, and I was taking over, and then it's
well. And similarly, when you went off for 2 weeks,
suddenly they could find the solution for that, because I had to be replaced.
Exactly.
It was when I was telling, it wasn't an issue, but when I was not there, then suddenly it was. You see, things are solvable.
So I want to bring it back to some basic business principles. I'm just going to go through a statement quickly. Organizations must develop the capability to continuously monitor its internal and external environments. And normally, companies are focused on the competition, the customers, etc. But important in the statement is that you also have to monitor your internal environment, your people, burnout, etc. Determining internal strengths and weaknesses, generating effective strategies while establishing short to long-term objectives, and adapting strategies to pursue and maintain competitiveness within the chosen market. So to compete, it's a holistic view of the things. You can't just say, listen, I'm making a lot of money, business is successful, but internally you are suffering because a lot of your people are on the brink of burning out and overworked, etc. So it's a fine balance. It's by no means an easy thing. My experience, very difficult to maintain it. But if you put the right strategies in place, you're probably going to make it easier for yourself. So in terms of the external and internal threat, your view on it, are we accurate with the statement? Is it something that one has to look at, both internal, external?
Well, external threats are external threats, and then you just react or predict them or estimate them, and just that's okay. But nothing is worse when you have internal threats And if you are, getting off from inside, then it's yeah, you can't do much about that. But yeah, in my experience, it was the it's a paradox, because the whole company was built on one thing: the energy and drive of my boss, the owner of the company. But it was at the same time the internal threat, because well, there we come back to the background. So he was also born in the Soviet Union, where nobody owned anything. Everybody was dependent on the state, and no responsibility, no nothing. And suddenly the system changes. And so he had this will to have a better life. And he found a way how to build it, and built an awesome company. So it's almost 30 years old. Turnover is average some 7 million euros. The employees are 150, so it's a nice production plant. It's not a small one, yeah. So, and it's all built on owner's energy. But as the company is the picture of the owner or the leader or the boss, that's where the company reached the limit, because the limit of the owner is the limit of the company. Fortunately and unfortunately, he wasn't, having this classical business education, how to build a company, how to build the structure, how to manage processes and people. So it was his idea, and it's worked perfectly till some point. So when I left the company, it was pretty much clearly visible that he is the inner threat of the company. So as comparison, I can say that you see, if the company is the picture of the owner or the boss, then if it's nice managed and nicely maintained, then it's like a piece of art. It doesn't have it doesn't show the tiniest details of the face, like the portrait, but it shows the main character traits. It shows the idea of who that person is. But in our case, it was like it's a photograph. It doesn't maybe show the character, but it shows all the tiniest traits. So it's still the portrait, just a little bit slight differences. One is piece of art, other one is exact face of reality.
Same picture,
but two different,
but different energies. So if I look at a photograph, then it's got a certain energy. But if I look at a painting, you can see the energy that's gone into it. Somehow it's the same picture, but it's more beautiful.
So without this kind of I don't like to talk bad, because I had awesome opportunities to be there, but nobody's perfect. So I saw that the problems why company was struggling was basically because there's one boss, not the leader, and who has to be on top of everybody, and nobody can be smarter than him, and he can't be smarter than anybody. No, you should be leader and hire smart people who is doing work for you, and create a piece of art. Not create, okay, you can't be specialist in marketing, you can't be specialist in HR, you can't be specialist in logistics, you can't be specialist in everything. You simply can't. So that was the limit of the company.
Yeah, and please, when we speak about certain experiences, it's not bad experiences. It's those experiences that are actually bringing us to a point to understand whether it's something that you want to continue, or something that resonates with you, or if it's something that doesn't resonate with you. And I think that's the conversation we're having. It's not to, the company has existed for 30 years plus. So it's got a right to exist, and the guy is putting a lot of energy. The question is whether it's a company that will continue after he's gone, because it's built around his own energy, right? If he's going, then, or if he leaves his business, or let's say he gets ill or something, then the business is not going to thrive because he's not there. So what you're saying is, and I understand what you're saying, you should be building enough substance in there, enough systems so that it can continue on its own. Because if you leave and it's not sustainably, set up, then it's not going to last. It won't last.
Yeah, that's the truth. Is that well, there are some good changes, some new waves there in the company. I'm in contact with some my former colleagues, so it's fine. I hope they will overcome this, and I'm wishing them all the best in these doings. But they are doing good, so all is fine. Could they do better? Absolutely. So, but again, it's, do you want to do better? Maybe you don't want to do better. So,
If
yeah,
you're
yeah.
satisfied.
I'm not judging. I'm just,
No, of course.
it's my experience and my observations, and yeah, that's what we are discussing. So I will try not to feel bad about talking bad.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I think one has to go into good and bad to understand what is going on.
Yeah.
If it was your company, you would probably see that as one of the forces to change. So I want to change gear slightly and just go into the forces to change, or the forces out there that we perceive an organization to change. So clearly, this guy will obviously be very competitive, else he won't be in existence. There's a couple of things that normally, if you look at the normal forces to change, things like, competitors. If your competitor is better than you, you are actually necessitated to make some changes in order to become more competitive. And we've spoken about those internal and external opportunities to become more competitive. So it's not just external, it's also internal. You can do some stuff internal. And with regards to people, with regards to processes, with regards to technology. Obviously, your customers are is king, and if they don't want your business, it actually forces you to change, else you're out of business. So customers are one of the forces to change. You mentioned something about communism and not owning anything, the state owned anything. So from a government perspective, there's also forces. So depending on what the government does, South Africa, we've got something like the BE thing that's got a huge impact on how you do business. So that's one of the forces to change. That again drives you towards change. You need to change something. You can't just continue with the way you're continuing. Sometimes you've got investors, that are stockholders of your company, and they've got a certain perception, and they force you to change. Suppliers, if you rely on international suppliers, for example, and things like COVID happens, then that forces you to change and do things differently. So that's another key force to change. Things in society, in South Africa, if you take things like the poor socioeconomic situations that people are in, that becomes a force to change, because criminality is in the rise. There isn't enough work for 40% of the population, which is sad. But that also forces you to change things, hopefully to do things better and create more jobs, more economically sound. But the one that I think our conversation is about is around the internal employee thing. If you've missed the opportunity to develop your employees' skills, empower them better, put them in a position where they're innovative and they can contribute to the sustainability or the sustainable competitiveness of the business, you've actually embraced that force to change. The moment you start looking at unions that forces you to do something, then to look better after your people, now you have to be unionized. And I remember we spoke briefly about the unionized environment, or the less unionized environment in Latvia.
Well, in Latvia, basically, we don't have unions. We have two, which one is for the nurses and the doctors, I think, and the other one is for the school teachers. Any other tries to make the union have never worked. It tells a lot of our who we are as a nation. How do we cope with the stuff? But yeah, in general, our employees are not very nicely protected. On other hand, yeah, sure. Now I'm unemployed, and I had the unemployment benefit for 9 months, so it's fine. But as as treatment towards the employees, and even if it's the work inspection, they come, they inspect the work environment, the light, the temperature, and a lot of stuff, how people are working, if it's healthy, if it's good for themselves. But the fines are so tiny that for the company it's like, I rather pay than solve that. So that's absolutely not regulated. So we don't have this experience. So employees are trying to take care of themselves, and
So let me ask you this then: if unions are put in South Africa, we're quite strong around unions, making sure, not always with great success, but making sure that the environment in which employees are working are at least, safe, that they're earning a relatively base salary. But that to me is again, it's got to do with leadership, right? So if you care about people, if you're a good leader, you're definitely gonna care about your people. So is that not really also a force to change? I mean, we spoke about the forces to change. So poor leadership or inadequate leadership, or people that in leadership positions that don't care about the people that they work with, that they lead, to ensure that they work in a healthy environment, but also in a psychological climate where they empowered and they're actually part of the company and not just working there for a salary. Surely that must also become a force to change, something that we have to change.
Should be. Well, you mentioned the minimum salaries and work time and so on. It's regulated by the law in Latvia, so we don't need unions. So actually, that's regulated by tax institutions. So that's in that sense we are fine. You can't earn less than it's stated by the government, and it's actually very interesting. That's different from South Africa. We have a little bit of unemployment in Latvia, but that unemployment is very strange, because when you need a good employee, there is actually the competition to get the good employee. So companies are forced to raise the salary, give some bonuses, better options, just to have the good employee. Not like, there are 50 behind the door waiting for this position. So that thing is regulating and forcing to change. And there has been some good changes, because in a company I was working for, because you see, you're talking about the inner environment of the company. And as we know the saying, the fish is rotting from its head. And you don't understand the saying if you haven't seen it in action, and I've seen. So as I mentioned, the company is the picture of the boss, the photograph of the boss. So, and he used to be quite not the nicest person, to say the least. Yeah, he loved to shout at people, to say names and rude names and so on. And on one hand, I absolutely understand. I'm also very short-tempered. I also had done that, but it's when I lost all of my. So then you see, there is one unlimited thing in this universe, and it's stupidness. We know that it's not effective as a leadership way to lead people, to shout at them, to say names and so on. But it was the environment of the company. Luckily, at one point, he realized that it's not unproductive. So he started to change. But still, it was, you you don't shout, but your posture tells everything. I'm a little bit overreacting now. Anyways, yeah. So this very tense working environment, because we are not working to reach the goal. We are not working to go somewhere. We are working to please the boss. If he's happy, we're happy. If he's happy, he's not shouting. And you see, then you do the minimum just for him to be happy instead of maximum, because we all can be happy.
Exactly. No, and that's a valid point. And I just want to go back to the remarks around stupidity. The more emotionally, my experience, the more emotional I got, wisdom goes out of the door immediately. So you tend to learn how not to get emotional, because then you make bad decisions and you do things that you're not proud of afterwards. So
Exactly.
in your experience, the thing that I want to probe a little bit, and sorry for probing about it, but the leadership thing, and I mean, we can talk about leadership forever. It's not something that's going to go away, but it's such a critical thing. In South Africa, we see the same thing. It's got nothing to do with any country. You see it on the news, you see it in the States, you see it everywhere. That leadership is such a critical thing that if you've got what I call detrimental leadership in leadership positions. One of the best books I've read on this topic is the guys who's Bobby Hare that wrote about snakes in suits, or the book is titled Snakes in Suits, and they've pointed out a few things about detrimental leadership. So it's a nice book to read, because it opens up your understanding of why detrimental leaders are doing what they're doing. Why are they shouting? Why are they doing this? And yet, if you look from the outside in, they look successful. The company is already running for, and they're making money, and they're profitable, and etc. And they bring a product to their customers, which the customers are happy, and the customers are not necessarily even aware of what's going on the inside. But if you look at it, what these guys tend to do, and the similarities between what you've described, they've got the tendency to do exactly what has happened with you. They identify people, find that almost way of manipulating you to get the best out of you, which is the objective. Is you obviously want people to be productive, but it's not sustainable, because ultimately the outcome is burnout, and all they then do is they replace you with somebody else, and the process repeats itself, and sometimes they keep the company going that way, and if it's something that happens with them, they start realizing, especially when they get a little bit older and wiser, they start realizing, but this is not good for the company's sustainability. But apart from that, I could have been so much more competitive, if I had a different leadership style, and where I built my company based on people. The heartbeat of the company is people. It's not one person that is able to know everything that needs to go on, and sort of micromanage everything that goes on. Is that something that you can sort of talk about a little bit more in terms of the two parts, the detrimental leadership, and what if it wasn't detrimental, if it was better leadership?
Of course. Yeah, it's you mentioned that getting older and wiser, because at one point you're realizing that it's like you're over and over in the same positions, and you're stepping over and over on the same rakes, and that rake is hitting your forehead every single time, and boom, again. Oh, really? Why would I do it? Yeah. No, but yeah, it's the, you see, if that leadership type I was in, it was fear-based. So that was first thing. So you should please the boss. It was never really working on me, because my work ethics is the work has to be done, not that I don't need to please anyone. No, why would I? You're not my husband. but a lot of people have tendency to work like that. And but yeah, it was more. I've heard so few times during these years I've been working there that I am good as employee. I never felt appreciated, except for these few times. But it was very common that even though my work was always done good, mostly perfectly, sometimes, of course, I'm human, I can make mistakes. But you see, if there is not a mistake to point out, then there's quickly found out something, but you didn't think of that, this. So, oh yeah, I could have think of that. And then next time, oh, I could have think of this. No, I could have. I could not. That's why I'm in my position where I'm doing. It's not like I'm not, this horse with these things and just seeing this. I have pretty a wide range of the vision. So, but it's not my job to fix the company. And sometimes it felt like I have to fix the company. Sorry to say, but there was once a little outburst from my boss's side. We were having some argument, and and he was like, like a child, and he was saying like, "Am I the only one who needs things to be done here?" And I was like, "Yes, you own this. I don't need. I'm receiving my salary and I'm off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you need things to be done." So yeah, as you said, the employees are the key factor, and he kind of understood that, but he was expecting them to come and solve the stuff on themselves first, to identify the problem, then make a decision how to solve it, and then to solve it that is working for the whole company. But instead, you should be pointed out where you should go, and that we never had. So of course, if you have two eyes closed or one and a half eyes closed, then you are wandering around and trying to solve some stuff, and that's how sometimes it felt like. Of course, the daily workflow was managed perfectly, but I never knew where we're going. Never ever I had some direction. Do we have to reach something, or okay, there is an issue, we should solve that, or yeah. So that was the work environment.
No, and I think that's a good context, to explain your feelings, and I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to speak to you, because it is exactly the essence of it. The essence is if people know that it's going to take empowerment and ownership. So all these buzzwords that people are using, but they don't know how to get people to have true ownership. And you're right. I mean, it's his business. There's no financial benefit even that you get from it, but there's also a psychological benefit. If you got a good leader, and I'm just going to look at a effective leader's description. There are so many of these, and we'll touch on some of it. But I think it's time for leaders to change their paradigms, to think about things differently, because there's just too many. I mean, the critical mass of companies work like this and that's my experience. And I mean, it's probably not long enough to make that statement, but I can tell you now, everywhere I've been as a consultant, a change consult, project manager, you see either the whole culture is like that, or you see in different departments, different levels of that type of thing, where you've got, instead of good leaders that understands, it's about people, making sure that you empower people properly. And by setting the example, it starts there. I mean, you set the example either way. If you set an example by screaming at people and turning them off. So value systems in terms of how you treat people has become such a critical thing for strategists to consider. What is the value system that you would want to have? Things like total quality management has become almost a nice benchmark for people. Total quality management, you look after a few things, but the important thing that you look after, it's a balanced approach. Important thing is your people, innovation, the empowerment of your people, making sure that they are the guys who understand at operational level, they have the opportunity to bring the ideas. So that's the important thing. Successful transformation, when you talk about, the fourth industrial revolution as one of the forces to change, actually causing guys to rethink their business. New technology comes along. If you slip out or slip up on processes and people, and you don't transform that at the same time, you're probably going to sit with a company that's very strong technologically, but they're not functioning very well because the people component wasn't brought in. So effective leaders look at all those things, that they incorporate all these aspects. But if they don't do it, that's the challenge. The challenge is, yes, you might survive for a couple of years, but the fourth industrial revolution has actually now brought us to a point where you can't actually hide behind your internal forces to change anymore, or you can't hide those forces to change anymore. It's becoming out in the open now, and customers are going to see it. It's not something that you can hide forever, because your product and the quality of your product, the quality of your service, everything is dependent on your internal effectiveness and efficiency. Okay. One thing I want to ask you is, you've got a lot of experience. So if you have to give me one or two things that you think a leader must have, what are those two things?
You see, we are making leader now also the some superhuman who should know the business strategies, who should know how to build that, who should know the hands-on, the people, the psychologist and so on. But you don't have to do that. You need to find person who is right for that, to do it in your place. So if you are not strong interpersonally, don't communicate with people that much. Hire somebody who will. Just be smart. Be smart. And one thing about being smart is knowing that you don't know everything. Just realize that. So one thing, of course, it's like find the right people who will do stuff for you, and you just earn the benefits. The second thing, if you are present in a company, then appreciation is always working. Appreciation is always working, and some people are working better with the sticks. Some people are working better with the carrots. That's true, but nobody ever was unhappy by receiving something good. You see some good. Oh, you've done this good. Okay, next time I will try more. But it's basically understanding the people, how they are working, what is pushing them, what is their what is the force which is making them to become better. And you see, also it's the personal thing. It's like to respect in general, respect yourself, respect people in general. Don't hire stupid people if you don't like to work with them, and hire people you respect. Then it's respect-based environment, and then all is good. Then things are working, and if you care only about yourself, sure, it's his business, it's his decisions, how he wants to make these things to work. It's his thing. But if you ask me, then if you care just about yourself, then obviously people behind you feel that you don't care about them, and their loyalty, their work ethics is how much they have. Caring for them and respecting them, you can get much better results, in my opinion.
No, exactly. And I think if we'll put up the slide just to to talk people through, some leadership traits. The things that you almost have to have as a guarantee is you need to be skilled. You need to be skilled in how to lead people. It's almost not non-negotiable. But yet you find people that is not skilled in it, and those skills can be obtained by different ways. You can go and study, but my experience is practical. You make mistakes as a leader, you feel bad about things that you've done, but that urges you on to do things better the whole time.
Well, and there can be the opposite one, because you have to take your experience into account, but you can't implement them like one-to-one precisely. I had the when I was in the HR, there was a situation where we were having HR briefing, and we were discussing incoming stuff for today and yesterday's interviews and so on, and where we're going. And because it was critical point that we need good employees, that's why we had these HR briefings daily. Just 15 minutes, quickly go through and just point out some key people, key interviews, and so on. So where the boss might be attending as well, and so on. So, and there was a situation where we had quite a lot of immigration from the Latvia when we had the quite a big economical crisis, but it was worldwide, not just the local. So a lot of people immigrated to some other European countries, like mostly UK, Ireland, Germany, Netherlands, and so on. So, and then at some point, some of the people started to come back because it's the home country and so on. And he had experience where one potential employee, I want to come back. I'm very determined to come back. I want to live in Latvia. I'm a patriot. And so he hired that person. And after 2 months, he said, no, I'm sorry, I don't want this, and left. So that was his experience. And he implemented this experience 100% the same way next time. So I was telling, there is a guy who is having very nice experience, and I think we should hire him. He returned from UK, and now will live in Latvia. He said, I had this John, the story I just told you about. I said, no, but this guy's name is Peter.
It's a different guy.
It's a different guy. You can't implement. You learn from your mistakes, but keep open mind.
Yeah. No, obviously, and I think that is another leadership trait. So if you look at the skills that a leader must have, but he must also behave in a certain way. There's certain, almost necessities in terms of how you behave.
That's the you see, you can be book smart and you can be street smart. So if you're a good leader, you should be both.
Well, exactly. And then you also need to be understanding the situation that you're in. Now, emotional intelligence, in one of the podcasts we spoke about, different types of intelligence. So it just comes to mind that you have to be aware of what's going on, not just externally in terms of your customers, competitors, etc., but you also need to understand what's happening in the internal environment. And each situation, as you rightly said, is, you have to evaluate it and say,
especially if it's about the human.
So it's rather a process that you go through, instead of just saying, well, this guy is exactly the same as that guy, etc. If you don't do that, you see, there's always the flip side of things. So if you do it, then you're not guaranteed success. But the flip side of it is, if you don't do it, then you start seeing it in results, and you don't necessarily understand exactly what's going on, because the results are painting a different picture. And what I often say to guys is, when they tell me that that they make enough profit, is when you have that conversation, you say, well, but you could have done probably more than that if you had a different approach, if you had a more sustainable approach. You probably would have been in a better competitive position by now. So yes, you're making profit, but if there's a better competitor coming out, and there's one of the things that a guy called Myron Rush is saying is, you're only going to be as strong tomorrow through the way that you actually deal with your management and your leadership within your company. So it's a simple thing. You'll be able to compete better if you know what you need to do in terms of your people, process, and technology.
Yeah, and obviously these people who are owning the companies, they don't have the term in their vocabulary. It's enough. Obviously they don't. So you want more. There are ways to get more, and unfortunately or fortunately, people are one of the main thing how to get more.
So I want to come back to the total quality management of leaders, and again we'll put the slide up for the viewers to have a look at. But leadership is not a simplistic thing. There's so many different areas in it that you have to thrive in, and total quality management probably speaks best to it. I'm not going to go into the detail. People can read it on the screen, but the key thing is it has to be a holistic approach. So if you look at a leader, it is a specialized thing, whereas we tend to appoint people based on their performance as a specialist into leadership positions, because we somehow think that this person is going to duplicate the good performance that they had as a specialist. When they go into a leadership position, they all of a sudden now going to have this magic wand, and everybody else is going to perform exactly the same as that. But you do two things. You actually take that person out of a position that they probably thrived in because they like it, and now you're taking them into a position without training, without experience, and you think this guy will automatically become a good leader because he's a good specialist. And that's not always the case. So you're actually making things worse on both levels. You're pulling out a specialist who's probably going to try and fall back and fix things on that level, on operational level, but now he's in a leadership position as well. And on top of that, you've got the pressure now to perform, because it's not only your performance, which you had 100% control over. You're now also responsible for performances of the people that you're leading, which you don't have control over. And you probably know most of them that, that they either 50% productive or, half lazy or, hanging around and two or three good guys. How much pressure does that put on somebody?
Well, you pretty much described with this my problem. You see, I'm the best if I'm working individually. If I have to be responsible for this half-blind or one hand and the other hand is Hook, Captain Hook, then I can do that, and I've done that. But I've never ever considered that I'm the leader. We are working all together to solve the thing or reach some goal we had to reach. So if we cooperate, then we can succeed, and we always are on the same level. Maybe, and very often I think that guy is not the sharpest tool in the box. I very, very, very much understand that. But anyways, that's the guy I'm working with. Yeah, so we are on the same level, but that's why I was never. I don't own the company. I see that it's struggling, but I don't know how to fix it, and my skills are somewhere else. But if it's a good specialist doing good job in its place, rather leave that person there, because if it's not showing the tendency to lead people, then probably he doesn't have the traits. You need the traits. You need to like people. You need to like to work with people. You need to be able to influence them. And some people are, individualists, and so a good specialist will never be necessarily a good leader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've had a very good discussion. Thank you once again. I want to just summarize by using a slide that actually shows us the urgency, if you like, of making sure that we've got good leaders in the new Industry 4.0, or the necessitated by industrial revolution that we're in this. And I think the next one is probably going to be faster. Industrial revolution number 5 is on our doorstep. But there are certain things that we have to do in order to survive. I would almost tend to say as humankind, because of the threats of AI and everything around the 4th industrial revolution. But leading, to me, is always going to be a critical thing, whether it's on whatever level, strategic level, business level, political level. It's going to be such a critical thing going forward. Equally important is going to be the fact that you want to be able to continuously improve, and you can't have 1 out of 150 people that carries that responsibility to bring innovative ideas, to change things. The more of that 150 people that you've got, the better position you are in. And I think without that full understanding of the cycle that we need to make business successful, and we spoke about countries and the similarities between Latvia and South Africa. I mean, everybody, South Africans watching this, but there might be guys anywhere in the world that's looking at this and they go, you know what? I've just realized that it doesn't matter where you are in Latvia. I have to go and look on the map where Latvia is. South Africa, probably, I've got
at least you need to know the continent.
Well, exactly. So at least there's a continent. But the similarities is mind-boggling, because it's exactly the same thing. We're all humans. We talk different languages, or we speak different languages. We were brought up differently. But the essence of it is, if you want to make business successful, you need to do it collectively. You need special leaders to do that. You need special people to realize, business owners, stakeholders in the business, might be shareholders, doesn't matter. Everybody has to get an understanding of, guys, we need to do this collectively. So collaboration is an important thing. We have to have leaders standing up, the true leaders standing up, like yourself, saying, listen, the businesses could have been run. Yes, they are in existence and they're doing well, profit-wise, but they could have done so much better. And if each little business makes that contribution, small, big, enterprises understand that that's the essence of it. We need to bring people into this equation. We're not just saying it, but really living it. And for that, we need leadership. So I think that's a good summary of our discussion. Thank you once again. It's important that we close this off on an absurd note. So you've selected the egg.
Can we a little bit change the rules?
You want to change the rules?
The rules. I will hide and you can choose. So it's going to be
up to me.
All
right.
Me.
I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that. Let me just get the clock.
So, and you will not see them.
And I won't see it.
Because you see, I know which egg is which. Right. I'm cooking.
Let me just grab this.
Yeah. So.
I'll take the right-hand side.
Okay.
All right. So you want to check. If it's a mess, it's a mess. So I'm just going to move
the
this thing away. On the forehead. You've got a chance.
Okay.
It's
correct.
Go for it. Okay. So I was hoping it's the boiled one, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
All right. But thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well,
what a mess.
What a mess.
What a mess. Okay. Right.
Thank you so much. It was very pleasant to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.